Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm doing really good. So we've got our regular contributors on today, which is Thomas and Kevin. Thomas is the editor-in-chief of the Sunshine Journal. If you guys haven't read it, you should, because he's a really great writer, and I love reading his articles. And then Kevin McDonald, who was our previous board member.
Yep. And what are we going to be getting into tonight?
Well, I wanted to cover, Thomas wrote a really great article on the sheriff and the budget and the county commission coming around trying to negotiate his budget and give him some money. And then I know that Kevin McDonald has an article and he's got some opinion pieces that he could give us on the hospital district. And we might even get into a little bit of the Epic Estates, because I just spoke at an event the other night and brought it up, and Thomas helped me with the PowerPoint and got a lot of feedback. I've actually been getting some calls from people that were at that meeting asking more questions. So if they're watching the show, I'm sure they're going to want us to tap into that a little bit.
That's a crazy topic in the whole area. And it seems like it's a conversation in each municipality, kind of, that nobody knew each municipality was facing. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, wait a minute, you've got something going on there with this, and you've got something going on. It's crazy. But yeah, so I look forward to it. And I'll be back for the panel, and I think John will be back too. So John was late jumping in. That's why I'm here with Joanne. So we'll throw it over to Warrior Shield Foundation, and I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our Shared Vision Network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together like-minded groups and individuals who have committed to making a difference in the lives of our hardworking, everyday heroes. We bridge the gap by connecting warriors or their families with the assistance they deserve and require, such as service dogs, wheelchairs, counseling, scholarships, and team building retreats, to name a few. You can help right now to make a difference for those who have helped and protected us all. Warrior Shield Foundation, selflessly doing for those who need it most.
It's a long way to home, but you won't take the hard road all alone. Just look to your left and look to your right. You were born to fight.
All right, so we're back with Kevin McDonald, our previous school board member, and Thomas Augustus, the editor-in-chief of the Sunshine Journal. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Thomas. Thomas, I really wanted to cover that article that you wrote about the sheriff and the county commission coming around to try to meet some amends to taking care of his budget. And I just wanted you to share that article and share some more information on that with us.
Making some amends to take care of his budget. Was that when Joe Flesher endorsed funding the whole thing from reserves?
Yes. Yes.
That was at the September 10th county commission meeting, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it was.
he came out as the great chairman that he is, and he said, hey, I've got this idea. I'm really upset about what happened the day before. That one thing he was upset about is that they approved these wage increases for the lawyer, Ms. Schuler, and for the county administrator, Mr. Takanich. It was a little bit manipulation of language on part of the lawyer. A little bit, I'd say a lot of it. She had no right to that raise when you look at her contract. That's my view. That's my opinion. It should probably be handled in court because, yeah, she got away with one there. Mr. Takanich, his language a little different than her contract, and I believe he probably is entitled to that 2.5% increase that he was asking for.
So we're having a lot of budget issues here, and what I meant to say is the sheriff's budget.
Yes, the sheriff's budget. But these are all things. This is what led up to the next day. So Fleischer comes walking in there, and he's like, "Hey, I want to fund the whole $12.2 million from reserves." That's the $12.2 million increase the sheriff was asking for over last year. Last year he was at $78,900,000 and some change. Mm-hmm. He wanted $12.2 million, which would have put him up to $92 million. They were going to give him what, $6 million even.
Right.
Now here's the thing about this: the $6 million, it started right from the beginning. Darrell Lohr, in the first budget workshop of July 9th, says, look, $6 million is going to give you $10,000 per sworn and $2,500 per civilian employee. So we're going to cover your wages. Remember, the sheriff was asking for $8.8 million because that $8.8 million is calculating overtime. There will be overtime. They're not hiring any new hires, not getting more deputies. There will be overtime. There's taxes, the FICA, all that stuff that the sheriff's department has to pay for. Healthcare, the benefits package, the whole 9 yards. So it came out to $8.8 million is how the and by the way, that was $3,500 per civilian, not $2,500, which Amy Cooper, the CFO of the sheriff's department, was at that meeting and clarified, because Laura's over there going, you guys reached the agreement that $6 million will cover this raise. Well, she's like, wages only, sir. You have to account for all these other factors. And I'm not accepting anything other than $8.8 million per Sheriff Flowers. That's our stance, because it's not going to work. So these guys are like negotiating an increase that's, quote, going to cover these wages. They're disregarding all operational costs. Mm-hmm. Because politically, hey, we're all behind the deputies, right? No one wants to see the deputies underpaid. But the reality of it is that this kicking the can down the road, there's that common phrase you heard of not fully funding a sheriff's budget throughout the years, has caused
the backlog,
the
deficit.
And then inflation comes. We've talked about this over and over again. And you got to say it again. 9.1% inflation in 22-23. When the sheriff got over $7 million of increase in his budget, he got hit with an increase. Now, a sheriff can take all that pot of money and do whatever they want with it. So if they have these conditions in their department that change costs, whatever it is, they can start moving money around. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't have to do, and these guys make a point of it. But the reality of it is that this compression that we've been seeing, where these deputies are not getting paid, it's been going on since Darrell Lohr and before. And I think Sheriff Flowers is just like, he's made it his mission to take care of things. Now, is he being totally smart about this? Well, I wrote recently, I said his big mistake is he did not meet with all the commissioners. I'm sorry you're asking for nearly $100 million. With amendments and everything that you get throughout the year, you're asking for $100 million, $90 million, whatever. Okay? You
Mhm.
have to meet with these people individually, and you have to lay down in a transparent form in a private meeting with them, say, hey, this is what our budget is. This is what I'm asking for. This is why I'm asking for it. And be prepared, just so you know. And let's start talking about this. Let's have some dialogue about this now. Maybe there's ways we can get to an agreement where deputies are properly funded and costs are properly paid, budgeted.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wondered why he didn't go and talk to everyone individually, because I was like, does he feel like he already has their backing, or does he feel that by not doing that, he's speaking to the person that has influence over the other commissioners? I was just trying to figure it out in my head, like, why would he not do that?
Well, I don't think the person, because he did speak with Flesher once. Flesher said, I had to ask for that meeting. He did speak with Darrell Orr having the experience of being a sheriff for 12 years and dealing with this. They spoke. They didn't say they had formal meetings, but they had discussions on the phone, probably, I'm sure. So I don't know how clear that was. But remember, it's Darrell Orr who comes out and says, okay, we'll fund those wages, and that'll be that. And then you're going to have to maintain costs at current levels. Well, you can't maintain costs at current levels because prices change every day. We just had a 100% tariff announced for China on November 1st. I can imagine how that's going to affect the costs in the sheriff's department with all the technology they buy and use.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. All their cyber technology, the radar sensors, all the stuff that's equipped in their cars, because I mean, their car is like a big computer system in there, just alone. And you have to have subscriptions to everything that they're using in there that uses technology, and all of those subscriptions increase as well with inflation.
Those subscriptions are not cheap either, because they're proprietary.
No,
I've seen,
Joanne,
the budgets, it's a fortune.
Joanne, in answer to your question, if you look back to what Sheriff Flowers did before he became sheriff, what his role was with the sheriff's department, he was in charge of PR. So that's his skill set. So it's natural for him to say, you know what, I'm going to the community. If he was a financial genius, he might have approached the finances differently. But he sort of did what he knows to do.
He knows how to PR, that's for sure. And I think, Trump does the PR thing better than anyone. But the one thing he does even better than his PR is he's on the horn talking to the leaders in the Congress, in the House, in the Senate. Right. And, it's not just all an air war. He's in the ground. He's getting dirty. He's negotiating. He doesn't get a peace deal with Israel and Gaza without doing those things in his own way. And people who are local need to learn that it takes the ground and the air. He has the people on his side. I think anybody wants law enforcement. We want our public safety handled. It's a principle of American government that if we're not securing our borders, we're not securing our country, we're not securing our municipalities, we're not properly performing the services of government at all. If that's an inverted notion. So you have to start. Laura Moss has said it repeatedly. If we don't have public safety, we don't have anything else. We don't have government. All this other stuff is useless because it's just going to be stolen and thieved from us. So
we'll look like a mini Chicago.
Exactly. And so, we're obviously Indian River County. Everybody who seems to own a gun around here, which is fine. We'll handle business if we got to. But the reality of it is public safety's first. And I think he decided early on, because in that first meeting, he clearly read the law. And for those of you who want to read it, it is Florida Statute 30.49, paragraph 4, which demands that they have a strict accounting. One of the things that has also happened here, or that has been happening for a while, go back and watch some of these previous budget meetings or workshop meetings with the sheriffs. I watched a couple from Lohr when he went, and Tim Zork's up there, and the guy who was over for Peter O'Brien. He was the chair at the time. And Peter O'Brien's up there. Well, I'm glad we got this settled. At least we're not going to Tallahassee. And
Well,
we thank you for reaching out and doing all these things. But what's happening is that in these negotiations that are done really behind closed doors in a lot of respects and all that stuff, and coming to these agreements, these cuts and what Sheriff's asking for in process in his lawsuit is not being done. And so now the sheriff is holding them to the law, and he's demanding a change in the process. He's actually demanding he's holding them accountable to the process that's stated in statute that this county has never done really in a transparent manner.
So he's within his rights for asking what he's in his lawsuit, what he's asking for.
Yeah. Now, I don't know the precedence of different things, but I do know if you just read the law on face value, this letter did not here he has in his lawsuit, this letter did not fulfill the requirements of Florida statute 3049. Paragraph 4, as it contained the determinations and decisions of the county administrator and not the decisions of the county commission discussed and made at a public hearing. In other words, they're supposed to audit his budget. Say, hey, man, we can't do this right now. We can't do that right now. And the county and Ticanich is supposed to help them do that. And they're supposed to meet and talk about these things. Instead, they're just like, well, how do we get the raise increase?
So how do we look at this budget here? Because we have their budget cuts here. And when I was looking at the budget cuts, I was like, why are they cutting? Let's scroll it up, Tom. Mike, scroll it up to the healthcare. He's cutting healthcare.
Is that the TCCH?
Yeah.
This is
4.2 million inmate TCCH. Okay, so
he's cutting healthcare and meals. How did they come to that?
All right, so
that's very easy. You just cut 25% of the inmates in your cost goalie. So don't arrest as many people.
Does that mean they're going to free some inmates back into the streets?
Yeah, just don't arrest as many people
again?
No, I mean, you can make any assumption. You can make any assumption you want, but the reality of it is that all healthcare for inmates is done via contract with TCCH, the Treasure Coast Community Health, and they have nurses and medical staff on site at all times. When an inmate comes in, and we've talked about this, if they've got high blood pressure and high blood pressure medicine, if it's not brought in with them, the jail pays for it. The sheriff's department has to pay for it. They have to make sure that if they have any physical problems that require medication, that require insulin, whatever the case may be, they're responsible for it. They're responsible for the control, care, and I forget the third C, but it doesn't really matter. But the care of these inmates while they're under their custody. And so, Treasure Coast Community Health, it used to be like if there was an emergency or a presumed emergency, might have not have been an emergency, what do? You got to take a deputy off place and put the inmate in a car and take him over to the hospital and admit him through the ER or however they did it. And that's not just costs, that's manpower, and it's costs at a high level. So the sheriff, rightfully so, farmed this out to TCCH, and they've put people in there. And there are a lot of things that they do there that, other jails farm it off to this or that. And the county's going to end up taking over a lot of this if this keeps going the way they're doing these budgets.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering when I was
because we're still paying for it. It's not that the sheriff's paying for it; we're paying for it. No matter what, we're paying for it.
So it makes me wonder: did they actually look at the budget closely when they pick something like that? I mean, to me, that just stood out to me. Like, wait a minute, it's healthcare. Did you actually audit the healthcare books to say it's safe to do this and more effective financially?
That 4.2 million is the largest budget.
All right.
Allocation and the whole thing.
And the cut of 1.1 million is the largest cut.
Yeah. And that's how look. So there, if you,
How do you solve your budget? You just cut one of the lines out and then it works.
Are you at the top? Are you at the top? Can you go?
Yes, this is the first page.
Go
So we
all-
can go down to Axion, ammo.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Here we go. Personnel. See, so here it is: 9,000 per deputy, 3,500 for civilian personnel. You know, a lot of times when you watch these budget meetings and workshops, you know, Daryl Lohr's like, it's 10,000 per deputy, 2,500 for civilians. Well, it's actually 9,000, 3,500. Anyway, it gets all confusing.
Well,
so
right.
you got to. But the reality of all this is that I believe they took, in getting to this number, I saw something where they took 2.2 million away from. They took 2.2 million away, right? Because they would, and so they took 2.2 million away from salaries, and you got to still fund all these other things. And so the 6 million's never getting there. They actually raised it up to 6.8. At that,
Yeah, it was a 2 million reduction because they took away the overtime and salaries.
Yeah,
That was, yeah, it was the salaries because it was overtime was 1.5 million.
it's. I mean, we're throwing numbers around here, but it's so dang confusing.
Yeah,
Because all of this is done last minute. When that budget comes in on May 1st, the county administrator should be on it. In that September 10th meeting, he's looking at he's going through and he's like, I'm auditing all the contracts. September 10th.
yeah.
And he goes, I'm still in the middle of auditing all the contracts. I've only gotten through 5 of them. 5 of a lot, as you can see.
Yeah, and
Just
how
the stuff he
detailed.
cut.
Yeah, because if he was going to be detailed about it, would have taken more time. Even in that budget, they cut lubricants for the machinery, the cars. You know, right there. Is it on that one? Other
Higher,
equipment. It's a little higher, but it was lubricants, motor fuel lubricants. Are you kidding me? I mean, we hear his helicopters up in the sky frequently. We hear, you know, the cars. You got to keep all that stuff oiled up and taken care of.
It's less than 10%.
Yeah.
I think it's probably
1.2 million.
It's probably mostly fuel and not as much lubricants, but still, you're driving your cars around. You know, they could sit in one place and wait for us to come by, save some gas that way.
And you know, they leave their cars running.
You got to understand the MTSU part of the budget pays for a lot of auto. So, you know, it's not the general fund. It comes from some of the auto, and that comes from a different fund.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from the Metropolitan Transportation unit or whatever it is. And it's a different fund. So, you know there's a whole bunch of, there's a lot of complications when you read this. And I think people they look at lubricants, they look at some of these things, they look at the meals. You know, one thing that's unique about our jail, it's got a humongous kitchen. Mm-hmm. That jail can feed 10,000 people a day if it has to.
Which is a perfect time for if we have hurricanes, we have
that's
disaster. You know, it has to be ready to handle.
It can feed 10,000 people. It's a huge kitchen. So the Aramark services. Look, we average about 415 inmates, 1.2 million. So we're at that $3. He drops it down 358,000. Remember, he said Tony Consalo did a little thing. He says, I'm doing more research. And he started talking about Polk County. Their average per inmate was $3 a day. So 1.2 million. We have 400. We're running 415. So we're right. We're like at $2.95 an inmate rather than $3. So he cuts 25% of that. I'm sorry, almost 28% of it. And now they're dropping it down to almost $2 a day on an inmate. That's a bigger thing to me. You want to have a healthy population, because if you don't have a healthy population, what happens? And their malnutrition, what happens? Well, their health costs go up, but you've cut their health costs.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go to the hospital now.
Now they're going to go to the hospital.
Now they're going to use manpower.
So the logic of this is not entirely perfect. but they had to come up with something because he held them accountable to it. Once again, I don't like this. Therefore, I hate the statement. They're they're part of the defund the police movement. I never thought it would come to Indian River County, he said in his video. That makes the whole argument unserious because now it's just political banter. These people should be coming together. The sheriff should do his PR because it helps people get involved, and they start looking at these things. They start looking at the budgets. They start doing, the citizen becomes educated. Here, look here, this is what we're doing. Look here, this is what they say. You need to do that. I get it. But you also need to be back there with them going, how do we come together? This is about community. If you're going to say community, then do community and do the hard things. Darrell Orr's statement, it's not reflective of our community. Well, what's been reflective of our community over the past 7-8 years on these budgets is let's just agree we won't fund everything, but we'll look ecumenical on the surface. Well, deep down there are these divisions that are going on, and it's caused. And so Sheriff Flowers comes along and he sees the frustration of his deputies who bust their ass. He sees it, and
a big part.
And he
a big
knows
part of this
it.
problem, though, is that they allowed this
Wound to fester.
to just for years. I mean, to be $10,000 below average pay didn't happen in a year. They don't have a long-term pay plan in place, and on both sheriff's side as well as on the county side. But in addition to that, you don't really have. You don't have to fix you got a bad problem. You don't have to kill that problem in 1 year. With a 20% pay increase last year, they should have had a 5% pay increase and a 10% this year. But they should at best say, well, let's do this pay increase over a little longer period of time where we can adjust to it and do it in a little bit different manner. I mean, if one of the issues that they talk about is all the great training that we give to new sheriff deputies. And after a year of their training, they're a whole lot more valuable. Well, maybe if that's the case, and I'd like to see them all get paid well, but if that's the case, maybe you discount that first year person because, hey, we're instead of giving you a lot of as much money, we're giving you some very valuable training that you can walk to Port St. Lucie with or to one of the other police departments. So they need to take a more intelligent approach to this, and it has to be more than 1 year.
But they have been trying to get back on the pay scale for years, and each year.
I don't mean just the sheriff. I mean the county. The county has to take. Here they're doing. They got a leak and they plug the leak for a year. They got to take a much more responsible approach to the budgeting in general. As I mentioned before, if the sheriff is half their budget, and they've got 5 county commissioners, 2 if not 3 of them should be well versed and deeply involved with the creation of the budget. It should come in September. They should be working with the finance department and the sheriff's office as they're developing this budget. And the 2 or 3 of them should be coming in as advocates for the sheriff that says, we went through this whole thing. We understand it. We've struggled with it. This is what it is. This is why it is. You should have 2 or 3 people that are, votes under his belt already because they've been intricately involved. And if they haven't, it's a shame. It's not a shame on him. He should try and get that. Shame on them. It's their job. It's half of their budget. Why are they not on top of it?
It's 53% of the general fund. And the thing is, the reality of this is that for the past 3 years, I'll grant this, the commission has said, can we do this over 2 years or whatever? Last year, John Tikanich wrote a long letter. He says, the budget increases of the sheriff's department are unsustainable and will cause a millage rate increase. Joe Flesher comes back this year, says, well, we should fund this from the reserves. And Laura Moss is like, well, you're going to cause a millage rate increase because you can't fund continuing costs from reserves because you don't have the money. So that would have been a tax increase next year, a millage of $24.4 million. It would have been 1.5 points it would have been 2 points. a 2 million, probably more than that. I think it's 6 million. They said it was a point. Can't say it was a point. So that would be 12. So you got to double it. Yeah, it'd be 2 points. I mean, is Flesher retiring because he's going to leave? Because we're never going to raise the millage rate himself, but we're going to spend all the money and then leave the sheriff in a lurch.
Well, and the funny thing is the union supported Flesher and Lohr because they wanted something better for the first responders. They had the backing of the police unions, the firefighter unions, and to me, they're not fulfilling what they preached during their campaigns.
And you're absolutely right. And here's the other thing. The sheriff in May, there's a report out, I think at CBS 12, had negotiated a tentative agreement with the union, but it was all up to this budget cycle to get it. And actually, in that agreement, he took all the money for benefits, all these different things. He says, we're not going to talk about this right now. We're just getting them the money. It was a 22% pay increase. You're talking 22% of a salary in 1 year now because of not dealing with this issue
before, right?
And they're saying, well, we gave him $21.5 million over 4 years. Well, that's $5 million a year. That's 5.2, whatever. And 1 year you had a 9.1% consumer price index. Prior to that, it was like 4%. But the money's gone before it gets to them. And you can't do this. And now you're stuck with trying to give them a 22% increase in an inflationary cycle that's off the charts already. And
with housing increasing, everything's increasing,
And it's become
health insurance
political football.
You get a small raise and it's eaten up by your health insurance.
But the reality of it is, if they're not communicating about these very real things and not understanding it, look, Tukanich gives these outlooks on the economy when he does the budgeting about how we need to preserve this and do this, and we can't give that to us here and all this other stuff because economic outlook looks really gloomy. It's very contrarian to the way Trump thinks, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But all that to say is, okay, if you're thinking like this, why aren't you having regular meetings with the sheriff while he's constructing his budget, not after he's submitted it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's my question too. It's like just when I was looking at that budget cut there, I was like, did they actually talk about this and understand what these items are that they're cutting and why they're cutting them and how they're going to affect the agency and its inmates? I just didn't feel like they put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, well, and the whole lawsuit is about literally getting this county and the commission. They're alleging these complaints. So this is why they filed. Okay, so you do this political thing. You say they're part of the defund the police movement and all that. I don't like that. That's not mature. But the reality of it is the way people do social media these days. That's just, it freaks them out and they go, yeah, they yell and do whatever they do. But the reality of this lawsuit is they're trying to get them back to the proper process. And he warned them from the get-go, hey, if you fund 1 penny less than what I'm asking for, I want to know why. And it has to be done. He believes it has to be done in a public hearing. And you're right, Karapi, classic gaslighting. And so there's fault on both sides, and then you got the commissioners up there going, you got Joe Flesher in the beginning saying, you can't, there's no accounting, there's no amount of money that we could give to these guys for what they do. I don't believe these discussions are even, he's trying to be this religious guy on how important law enforcement is.
I got a clip on that. We could show him talking about it.
I mean, play it.
Let's go to that
hilarious.
clip. Here he is. He's joining in the
Impactful
wagon.
moments in my 19 years serving on this board. I can say that it was something I did not support,
This is about the
could not
lawyers.
support,
Yeah.
but it was passed on this board.
Yes, it was, because you weren't ready for it.
I look at
After 19 years.
how we're looking at the
Yeah.
sheriff's budget,
He should know all of this stuff like the back of his
and
hand.
it's well agreed that is a rather significant increase. We have spent many hours,
It's purely political.
countless engagement on assessing. One might consider micromanagement, but it is our obligation to examine and ensure that we're good stewards of the taxpayer dollar.
I don't think he examines that stuff closely.
You should.
That action yesterday
He's still going.
truly affected me.
He gets emotional here.
While we're
He's
looking at dollars, we've set the budget 3.5475. Nothing can happen today that's going to increase any numbers or burden to the taxpayer. We've set the mill rate, one of the lowest in the state. But we have to look at what we have done to not impact the citizens, and that is our major concern, because the burden is plentiful in so many other arenas
stop the tape.
that taxes could not be.
What about that $4 million he spends on NGOs?
There you go. Bingo.
$4 million.
He's right. He's right. He can't. Okay, they've passed the millage. Fine, great. But he can modify that budget 9 ways to Sunday. He's trying to do it right here with a $12.2 million pull from reserves, which is going to lead
And
to
millage shouldn't have to be
25
adjusted.
Right. It's going to lead to a $25 million tax increase in the following year. He could do this. And then the funny thing was he wanted to take the $6 million back and then like start funding a whole bunch of crap. I'm like, come on, guy.
Take the $6 million back and then use the $12 million from the reserves.
Yeah,
the
and so
unrestricted reserves.
so he's doing that, and but he can't make the motion because he's chair. So
Yeah,
he's
he
looking
says
at these
that
guys
here.
to jump, and and
Yeah.
Laura Moss is like, well, hey, you're going to have to raise the millage rate. And then Tony Consalo comes up among other citizens. And Consalo used to be a captain. Consalo's done budgets. He's done budgets over his department and submitted them to the sheriff. Says, hey, I need this much. Put this in your budget, blah, blah, blah. And they go back and forth. Right? He's done this stuff. He knows how it goes. He's like, why don't you just do the $6 million from reserves? And he's like, well, no, because we'll take away from the citizens. Well, once again, what are you taking away? The most important thing in American government in terms of municipal control, the public safety of the individuals you are governing.
Right. And I
You're
just
already taking away from them.
This is the second time that I've seen Susan Adams be like, "You're confused. I'm confused." Listen to this.
She's brilliant on some of this.
I love it. Watch. She says,
revised. Of the 12 revised, we have at this point through the budget workshop have tentatively approved 6 million.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. You want to take that 6 million and put that back in the general fund and then fund what he's asking for out of reserves.
That's correct.
Okay, so
She's so funny.
but that's
"Is
not
that you laughing,
that's
Kevin?"
Yes.
Yep.
that's recurring funding. So you're going to fund out of basically reserves as a savings account for those of us that live in the business and personal world. It's our savings account. So we want to fund recurring dollars
For those of us
out
that have
of
a checkbook,
our reserve account. That's your proposal. I just want to make sure I
She's
understand.
like, "That makes no sense."
It is big. It is bold. It is very unique. And
It's stupid.
generally, we do not take anything from reserve accounts to begin a budget.
Stop the tape for a second.
This is
It's big, it's bold, and unique. And by the way, I'm not going to make the motion to do it. You are. It's going to be your fault. And that's how it would politically go in the coming years.
Oh my
I didn't
God.
make the motion. I just thought it was a unique idea. I didn't think anyone would be foolish enough to take it.
It is
None of them
theatrics.
were.
It is theatrics. He's like complimenting himself by saying, I'm being big and I'm being bold.
Right.
But he'll have no responsibility for it.
Well, he
Right.
forgot stupid because she pointed out how stupid it is to take back the 6,000 and then take 6 million, take 12 million out of reserves, and then waste another 6 million while you're blowing our savings account at the same time. But Thomas, at the top of your head, do you know what the revenue increase is this year? Because although they don't raise the actual millage rate, the tax revenues are increased because our assessment rates go up.
If you look at that letter, it's in there. The letter from the I have it here. Hold on.
I had seen it. I was thinking it was like about $6 million, wasn't it?
I have it because it's I'll read it to you.
Say that again.
No, it's a
Kevin?
little more than that. So he wants to know over last year what the
Your
revenue
taxes are going up, even though your millage rate doesn't go up.
because your property values are going up, and
Right.
Yeah.
that translates to an additional amount of revenue.
Mhm.
So here's the summary of budget trends from the letter that the sheriff received on September 22nd. It says, for the 6th consecutive year, the BOCC held countywide general fund millage rate flat at 3.5475 mils, generating $8.68 million, budgeted at 95% in new general fund revenue. It's an 8.8% increase. By the way, they gave immediately 15% of more of what they asked for to the NGOs in the CSAC committee. They got 3.4 million, increased from the previous year of 3 million.
Mhm.
You know,
Why is that
money.
so
The
easy?
graft and corruption department, which is CSAC.
the graft and corruption department.
And they're supposed
I mean,
to
really.
their only job is supposed to make recommendations, but what they actually do is they go up to the county commission and sell the idea and
Right.
present all these beautiful PowerPoints with no real documentation.
And when do
showing
they do
proof
it?
of their work? Huh?
When do they do it?
They do it in
March?
November. Is
They
it
start in
is it
November.
March?
In November, they get their elected. They get the people. There's
Elected.
currently right now, for those of you who are fiscal conservatives and want to raise a good stink, you need to go apply for a volunteer position on the CSAC committee. Laura Moss has to appoint someone from District 5. There are also other people's seats available for the recommendation of budgets and also programs.
But
There
they're
are two
all
subcommittees.
they don't meet at night. So like I have a day job. I went to apply and I can't be there for any of the meetings.
Yeah, and so
Where's
I'm
District 5?
working.
Where's District
I'm
5?
District 4.
District 5, that's
is
you,
the beach
bro.
side. Yeah, that's
that's
you.
a school district 5. That's school district
Yeah.
5.
Same district, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they work out equally.
Mhm.
The districts are the districts. So
Yeah.
yes. So you could apply, Kevin. You could apply,
Yeah.
Kevin.
So if you don't have a job or if you have a flexible hours, you can apply. But if you work
Yes.
a 9 to
They
5,
probably
you can't.
meet early in the mornings though.
I want to get back to this lawsuit. First, I want to read you exactly what the law says. And this is something that, you know, the sheriff has accountability in this too.
Mhm.
Okay. Their letter points out that accountability, and we'll get to it in a second. But here's the big paragraph that he read to them. It's paragraph 4. It says that the Board of County Commissioners, the Budget Commission, as appropriate, may require the sheriff to correct mathematical, mechanical, factual, or clerical errors and errors as to form and the proposed budget. They did do that. They originally asked for like $9,061,000, and there was a $208,000 correction because there were some things with the school resource officers. Some of them were part-time, and they just put them all in as full-time. So it was corrected. So, you know, the sheriff's department working that happened on day 1. The board or commission must give written notice of its action to the sheriff and specify in such notice the specific items amended, modified, increased, or reduced. Now they claim that's the letter. The budget must include the salaries and expenses of the sheriff's office, cost of operation of the county jail, purchase, maintenance, and operation of equipment, and including patrol cars, radio systems, blah, blah, blah.
Now, see, when I hear that,
here's
I'm
the
thinking
thing.
detail.
Right. But so this lawsuit's about process. This lawsuit is not about whether it's justified or anything, and he's just trying to get his money. This lawsuit's about reestablishing the process that's written in statute. That's what this lawsuit's about. And I think he's got a decent fight. And I think he thought about this. He's like, the reason this is no one's ever getting their money is because we come up here, we have this kumbaya moments. I get 70% or 60% or 50%. This year they tried to start out with 40% of what he asked for. We can't be doing this. And they get away with it because they don't do things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's trying to reestablish the process, or as it written in statute. Now, they say in their letter, which is very important here, and I think they've got a fight on the defensive side. The commission has a fight because it says this. He says in his lawsuit this isn't required of him. But one of the things that you do, like if you go look at those decreases, you see the code there, 53534111 or whatever it is. They're accounting codes. They're called sub-object code level. And so not all their budget has sub-object code level. So the county says, they quote the law as well in paragraph 3, all relevant and pertinent information concerning expenditures made in previous fiscal years and proposed expenditures, including expenditures at the sub-object code level, in accordance with the uniform accounting system prescribed by the Department of Financial Services. Well, they're like, hey, you guys don't. We were informed on July 10th by Amy Cooper, the CFO, that the sheriff's office does not currently budget at the sub-object code level. It presents us a challenge and requires the BOCC to provide written notice specifying the items amended, as the law does. It goes, without the sub-object code level details, the board is constrained in its ability to provide. So this is going to be a dirty government process fight.
So what does that exactly mean? The board levels are constrained at the sub-object.
Well, if they're not providing things in the generally accepted accounting principles of government, right? Like the law requires, that's their out in their argument. Hey, we didn't have.
He's saying they don't provide the numbers that they're supposed to provide for the board, the county board, to look at that and audit that properly and make those recommendations.
Correct.
He's saying, I just want a big chunk of money, and unfortunately, the way the system works, whatever he says he wants the money for, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's in the law.
Box full of money. They give him the box full of money. He spends it however he wants. So, and they're not auditing afterwards.
Yeah, and it was pointed out in one of the meetings, Susan Adams, notwithstanding any other law, in section 12 of paragraph 12 of this law, and in order to effectuate, fulfill, and preserve the independence of sheriffs, a sheriff may transfer funds between the fund and functional categories and object and sub-object code levels after his or her budget has been approved. And they always say, well, we'll give him so much money because at the end of the day, he can use it however he wants. And he's going to. So they're asking for assurances in faith that when they say, I'm giving you $6.8 million to fund deputies, you're actually going to fund deputies. Well, how is he going to fund deputies? How is he going to do that when his operational costs, as he claims, are $12.2 million, including all the personnel? How's he just going to take that money and fund them and not worry about every other thing in his budget?
Right, all the resources that he needs to have to operate.
And so this law is set up in such a manner that if the county does its due diligence in auditing his budget and working with him and doing all those things it needs to do, they have a clear understanding, rather than just every time he walks up there on an annual basis, it turns into a political dogfight.
I've always
clear
said that,
thing that
Thomas.
happened here.
I've always said that because I always knew that he could spend the money. They could put it in this account, and then if he needs it in Peter's account, he can transfer it to there because they need those resources now. But when he always goes up and asks for money, they never really throughout the year say, hey, how's your budget doing? Can we look at your budget? See if he's using that money how he said he was using it. And then if he isn't, they can say, what happened here? What's going on where you had to transfer these funds? What caused that? They're treating it like
they're not doing their job.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
don't
doing their job.
do their job. When it comes to them researching stuff and really focusing on stuff, just like the CSAC, they don't really do any audits on the CSAC, really. They just turn over numbers and they're like, okay, that sounds good.
And here's the other
thing. It's a pretty good pay package if you don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. So we talk about CSAC doing their thing in March. We talk about all these different departments, utilities, all these things that happen in government that are happening prior to even the sheriff submitting his budget. CSAC gets its approval in April. It can still be pulled. It can still be changed. It can still be modified. But the bottom line is it's already done in April, and these guys are having recommendations to the county prior to that July, but they already realized they got $3.4 million that they're going to be recommending, and this is how we're going to spend it. They've gotten approval to do that. A commissioner at any time can say, hey, wait a minute, we've got issues over here with the sheriff. We're going to pull $3.4 million off of this CSAC budget and put it over here.
Mm-hmm. And I think they should do that.
I think they should too, when 80% of the NGO's representation up there is, people who are employed by the nonprofits that are asking for money or whatever.
Yeah.
See, I would put my name in the hat for that position if I was somewhere going to get $1 million back for it.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop now.
That's the reason you sit on that board, isn't it?
I would go if I wasn't working, but I'm working. They actually should do, when you are volunteering for something, they should have meetings at night. This way, you have a larger number of people that can participate. Here, you're just logging in, making a little circle and saying, if you're free during the day, if you don't have a job during the day, you can come and work the CSAC. And a lot of
I'm sure that's by accident,
like
Joanne. I'm sure that's by accident.
And after you've worked the CSAC, you can go to the nonprofit.
Not even after.
Mm-hmm.
You work for both.
It's a lot of I don't like that idea. I don't like knowing that the person that's asking for the money is on the committee.
Right. Well, and they're over there and they're over there recusing themselves while these people decide whether or not they're, I have to recuse myself because you're talking about my NGO. But you're sitting there in the room giving them the side eye to make sure they approve it.
Yeah, it's like you approve my NGO and I'll approve yours because you'll recuse yourself, vote on mine, and I'll recuse myself and I'll vote on yours.
For those who don't know how this process works, the county and the CSAC is giving money to, in this case, the Learning Alliance, who's giving money to the school. So we're taking county tax money. We're laundering it through an outside organization to give it back to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Who takes 51% of your money.
If they need the money, give it to them. They're already getting $410 million. They're losing students. I'm not saying that that's not the right amount of money, but there's no sense in laundering it. If you want it to go to the schools, give it to the schools. Don't launder it through NGOs.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The superintendent asked me straight out. He goes, what do you have against the Learning Alliance? I said, I don't. Except one thing. I love what they're doing. Fine. I get it. It's right. Literacy needs to happen. Unbelievable. But here's my one grief. They're taking my taxpayer dollars and they're doing it on the county side and give it to the school side. All the Learning Alliance does is write checks. That's what they do. The vision and why the school system is doing what it's doing is because Dr. Moore and his team work their ass off, and he has totally transformed how education is being done. He has really made some great changes.
And so what he likes about it is they're giving him money, which is fine. They've got $20 million.
The things he needs to do. But it's like, if any nonprofit is worth its salt, you should be able to convince people to donate to you. You shouldn't force them through the use of government. I'm sorry.
I agree with that 110%.
Well,
everyone talks about
should be spent by the government. Particularly, this is like taking money out of the county and giving it to the Policeman's Benevolent Fund to give it back to the sheriff. It shouldn't happen that way. It should not be laundered. It shouldn't leave the county unless it's going for a service, and the service shouldn't be writing a check back to the
because
some
in
element
that
of the
process,
local government.
Somebody else is getting paid in the middle. You know,
They're
it doesn't
making,
just
they got control.
full
They
amount
don't need to
doesn't
be
get-
involved.
Yeah, they don't.
Right. They got a staff of 4 or 5 people get funded.
The head of the, I guess it's the funding. They have, so you have you have 2 subcommittees on CSAC, and it goes to the main committee. So you have the grant request committee that looks at the grants, see if they're viable, and then you have the budgeting committee, or they're the ones who approve the dollars. And the head of that subcommittee had to recuse himself twice. That's ridiculous.
Actually, the whole purpose of the CSAC is to serve children.
Yes.
Why are we going outside the government to do that? We have an organization, the largest organization in the county that's serving children now. If you're going to do that, give Doctor more of the money. He could do a whole lot better with, what is it, $6 million they give away?
Yeah. Well, and he has. And the thing is that the school system has set up its own, what they call a DSO, a service organization, a donor service organization. The Ed Foundation is now under the school system directly. This is in statute. You can have a DSO, and so they're out there raising their own money. They've got a.
You're talking the foundation.
Yeah, the school system has their own donor development team and everything, and they go out there and they get grants. They do all those different things, and it's like, why are you even coming? But here you are coming to the county. Tony Brown of the NAACP said it before, say it again. He got really upset with the Learning Alliance because he says, they're like, if you don't fund us, these kids aren't 50% of the kids that we work with are going to lose the ability to read. And he goes, they're threatening us. Now, they have a rule on CSAC here. It gets better. Every program must have sustainability.
Oh my goodness.
So what an NGO must be able to sustainability. So the sustainability means that if we don't fund you, you should be able to do this at least at a 75% level. So we'll fund 25% of this program, and 75% will prove sustainability that your program. I mean, there was a organization that came in there wanted 100%. TLA on that particular one wanted 40%. And they gave it to him.
So
we've gone.
Be done with this mess. Susan McGill said, "Be done with this mess." Or as Susan
to play that
eligible stuff in the county.
I love it.
We done with this mess.
Susan McGill said, "We done with this mess." It's so good.
With this mess.
Oh, that's funny.
So look, we talked a lot about this. Kevin, tell us about what's going on with the hospital district.
It's just worth talking briefly. It's in the paper this week. They're talking about how the sober living facility that the hospital district apparently paid, what was it, $4 million for land before they figured out that they really don't have zoning to do what they want to do with that land. So they're pretty similar to the Epic Estates fiasco out west of town, where they bought land it's not zoned to do what they want to do, and now Epic is coming hand in hand saying, well, gee, now that I bought this land for nothing, I want you to increase the value of the land by 20 or 30 times and put in infrastructure so I can put residential housing out there and cost the county millions of dollars in infrastructure, so that his land can be valuable and he can sell it. He can contribute to some county campaigns. But that's the same issue that the hospital has. They bought land and they did not plan in advance, and now they got land that they can't necessarily use. But on the positive side, thanks to one of their board members, Paul Westcott, brought up to them a couple of meetings ago. He said, "You know what? This organization actually has a charter, and the charter actually puts parameters, lanes on what we should and should not be doing, what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do." Which one had the charter says that they are to fund health and medical services provided or under the supervision of licensed healthcare professionals. The idea was that they're going to give people who can't afford it, who can't have access to it, some additional health funding to deal with a doctor or a nurse or a PRN. But the stuff that a lot of the stuff this money is going to has nothing to do with doctors or nurses or PRNs. And so he finally brought that up, and he mentioned that and we really should be doing the right thing. And so they agreed with him, and they agreed, I think it was at the last meeting, that they would drive towards that goal. The only shortcoming is it doesn't take 3 years to say, we're not going to give you money we shouldn't be giving you. So they're cutting back their allocation, but not entirely. They're going to cut back a little now, a little then. So they're going to keep corruptly using our money outside the charter that they should be using it for
the next 3 years, right?
Because they don't want to deprive people of money that they should have been getting in the first place.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Organizations of money.
And we have to watch this very closely because they're going to phase it out in 3 years, right? Is that
right? Maybe.
And I can tell you from experience, government never phases out.
I was just thinking that. I was
spending.
like, no.
When I come from Virginia in the 1990s, when George Allen was governor, he ran on no more car tax. So you got property tax on cars, boats, and things like that in Virginia. You had a sticker right smack in the center of your window. So they passed the law to phase it out. Well, the Democrats took control after him, and it never got to zero. And to this day, they still have a car tax. And matter of fact, it's back up to the levels, percentage-wise, that it was in the 90s. So
what are you implying?
Hammer him.
Are you implying that if the county is not wise enough to reelect Paul Westcott, that the spigot will open again and the money is going to go to places it shouldn't be going?
We need more Paul Westcotts. We need the original and any clone we can come up with.
But it's good that they're trying to do it. But here's the thing. If they've acknowledged that they shouldn't be spending the money, this is outside of their charter. We're giving away money that isn't ours way to give away, but we're going to continue it for a few more years. I mean, is that absurd?
Hey guys, let's take a break and go to panel.
Yeah,
let's take a break right here and go to panel.
There's our panel.
All right, Kevin, finish up.
Mike, you're not on.
Yeah, you gotta take. Yeah, Mike,
let me get John up in here too, and we can.
All right, Johnny's here.
He came late, so we're not set up for John, but we're gonna get set up for John. Where did it go? That's not it. That's not it either. There we go, but that's not the right background.
Welcome,
there
John.
we go. There we go. Here, let's.
Boom.
That looks a lot better.
There we go.
John, how are you, man?
What's up, guys?
I got to tell you, this whole sheriff's thing. I mean, it's a little. I think our public servants have done their part in embarrassing us lately. I mean, between the Vero Beach City Council, the Linda Moore thing, and then now this between the sheriff's department and the county commission. I think they've taken it too far. The PR, I think, maybe it worked. I don't know, but to me,
I think it's working in the PR front.
For who? I think on
The
both
sheriff?
sides look really bad. Well, the sheriff's got that that he's got that bonus. I mean, as soon as he came
He's
out
got the
with,
bully pulpit, doesn't he?
he sure does, in the media production. But I
Learned a
mean,
lot from what's his name over there, John. What's his name?
Walsh. Yeah, I have a hard time picking sides. Like I think the sheriff's department needs every penny they need. And it's not a matter of what they want to increase, but what they're projecting that they're going to use, right? So maybe he needs the 93 million altogether, but it just, the approach to it, the not working with the county, and I don't know about you, but the sheriff since the last election, and probably started before that, has become less and less approachable to everyday citizens. And in the very beginning, he wasn't like that. At the very beginning, if you ran up into him at Sam's Club, you can talk to him at Sam's Club.
Yeah.
You know, flowers didn't matter. And now it's just like, I mean, he's grown into his role, I guess. You know, he just doesn't seem very approachable.
Grown out of it.
But coming from Fletcher and Lohr, like where do the egos play into all this? You know, because they're all former law enforcement and whatever, and they're blaming Lohr's sheriff's department for not fixing stuff all along. But I have a hard time picking the guy I don't like out of this, you know, and part of that is the guilt by association too, because not for nothing, but Sheriff Flowers loves to hang out with one of these NGO guys who likes to be in every picture there's a check written in, and now they're making a play for some of that money coming from our county. So it's like, I don't like the freaking inside, like the whole NGO thing and the way the money's moving around. And I don't like it. I think they ruined it. Like they ruined the chemistry and where he should be coming from. But like I can tell from most conservatives in the county, I mean, they have his back 100%. You know, I just hope they hold him accountable. You know,
well, Mike, you really hit on something, because it was, I'm looking for the exact quote because it was really important. Yeah. Susan Adams, she referenced, you know, that was the meeting on September 10th. And she said, what I'm more upset about in this budget process compared to other budget processes is where we've gotten to at this point. And she mentioned how that the negotiations and talks are always cordial, and she goes, but I don't feel I can pick up the phone and talk to this sheriff. And it's
I saw that, yeah,
unfortunate because it's not good for the community nor the budget process. And she's right. You know, she has to have an open line of communication. If not, then there's problems, and if that needs to be corrected before he even brings that budget forward. She's either got to reach out to him or he's got to reach out to her. And he should reach out to her, because he's like, hey, this is what you got to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Thomas, you identified it earlier. The biggest problem is they are not working through a proper and pre-designed process. And the county people don't want to spend they don't want to put in the effort to be involved. And the sheriff, sort of like everyone else, he wants to do his budget and not have them looking over his shoulder, because they're going to say, well, what about this and what about this? He doesn't want that. The school district works the same way. Dr. Moore does the same thing, and he makes Jackie Rosario crazy because he doesn't bring the budget before the school board. It should be that they should be involved with the budget. They should actually have had their strategic plan designed before they start funding their strategic plan, instead of coming up with a budget and then going back and saying, well, you know, let's create a plan with the money we just budgeted. But she goes crazy. It's very number. The school that I was in charge of in New York City, the head of the school would do the same thing. They want to be in charge of their little fiefdom. They don't want the oversight, but the process is designed specifically for that. So the sheriff and the county should be plugged in from the beginning of that process. And if it's half of the money that they spend is the sheriff, they should be integrally involved, and they should be talking with them every week and every month. What's the budget look like? What's this? Explain this. At the end of the process, several, if not all of them, should know that budget pretty darn well.
Yeah, and I think that would help them to understand if he's asking for a large sum of money for his budget, they would understand why and if it makes sense. Because when they're not involved, you're just looking at numbers.
Well, the other thing about this is that, the law has to have that. This is all part of the accountability process. So this is one way, you hear these commissioners like, well, he can spend the money however he wants. And it says that in paragraph 12, he can move things around from different coded areas and stuff because he has to have that flexibility. But the reality of it is this process is in place. And Kevin's right. They're not doing the work because they're using paragraph 12 as an excuse. Wow, he can do whatever he wants. So just because we sort of know doesn't mean it really matters. Well, it does matter because if it's written and in place and you follow the process, you can look at it and say, well, okay, why did you take this out of, for example, vehicle lubricants and give it to this NGO over here who's working with inmates?
Right.
Yep.
And go on.
That's just an example. I'm speculating.
Good point. Good example.
Yeah.
Instead of lubricating the helicopters, they're greasing the skids.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's no doubt about it, though. It is
one.
a lot of money. And last time around, we do remember that county administrator saying it's unsustainable. People are looking at the price. I mean, people are looking at the price of groceries right now. They haven't gotten any better. And our sheriff's department in our county are fighting over $6 million is what it reads. And they're all, we have a nice law enforcement department. And when you compare it to Brevard and St. Lucie, I mean, I think Brevard's running, I think his last budget was $200 million. St. Lucie, I believe, was right at $100 million. And so, I mean, I'm not saying it's not due to the sheriff and the deputies, but I definitely think it wouldn't be that hard of a decision if our county wasn't appropriating the money the way they should.
And we haven't touched the big thing is if property taxes go away.
Right. Well, that's what I'm screaming. That's what I didn't say it yet because it's like Civil War, but like I keep saying this. Well, how are we going to fund a $93 million sheriff's department when property taxes are cut back from?
We're going to have to get rid of the NGOs.
Well, hold on. These are questions that are going to be answered by the state because they understand these very same questions. That's what the studies are for. They're going to figure it out. I mean, some of these a lot of sheriffs might start getting funded through state
or the new developments that will be forced to zone.
However they manage it. But the point is, that's what the studies are for. We're not out there having those discussions. That we're just going to have to wait on. I agree. I don't, but we're only used to this paradigm. We're not used to the paradigm they're trying to create so we could have tax relief. And if they can create a paradigm where we get tax relief,
and the bills are paid, right?
But I've already had someone say to me, ultimately, this is going to open up income tax in the state.
It's got to. I don't see any other way other than
and that's a common
higher sales tax. Yeah.
But we'll only do 1% income tax. So yeah, well, you know how that goes. It's going to be like property tax in Virginia.
Right. So I want to get.
Wait, you need to understand about that. If they do it with property taxes, I'm happy because I pay above average property taxes. But the person whose property tax is low because they have a modest home, they're going to save a little money. But however they replace it is going to be a lot more money. So the people who got modest homes are going to end up gaining in one hand, but losing twice as much in the other. It's going to hit them hardest.
But property taxes are going to go away for those people that have paid off their homes, not people with mortgages.
Yeah, but most of your middle class and working class is carrying a mortgage or two.
No, it'll go away for It'll go away for everybody. It won't be just people.
Right.
Well, the way I understood it,
and you'll get a rebate back too from the money.
So is that how it's written? Is that how it's explained? Because the way he says it, if you own your home, you should not have to pay taxes.
Well, he means if you own your home, if you pay mortgage, not if you pay rent.
You don't own your home when you pay mortgage.
No, you do. He's saying own versus rent.
You still have to pay taxes on it anyway. So
yeah,
it'll trickle down to everyone. It won't just be for people that paid it off.
Except for renters.
Well, that, yeah.
Well,
because
right now,
they're not charging property tax if you rent a commercial property now. That was in the big beautiful bill. So if you rent a commercial property, you don't pay property taxes on your rent on your commercial property.
But residential people aren't getting a break on their rents.
No, not that. No, that would be up to the landlord.
In the whole budget thing, John, I'm going to ask everybody: who do you think is doing a good job in this whole budgeting crisis?
Sheriff versus commissioners?
Yes, and which commissioners, if any?
Well, I think that Fletcher he's getting ready to pull the plug and take his golden parachute and take off. So he's just gonna gaslight people until he can decide to leave. So remember that. Same with Laura too. See, the thing is happening is all this is coming to the surface now. Laura used to be a sheriff, so he was pushing the goalpost down on the budgets all those years, and now Fletcher's trying to save face after his 19 years of being on the county commissioner, and he can't figure out a budget now all of a sudden.
5 terms, and this is
five terms because he's up in Sebastian and he's in his little throne up there, and so nobody pays attention to him. He thinks he's something special. That guy's got another thing coming. I can tell you.
I wonder what all the unions are thinking when they're listening to these commissioners that they gave so much money to during their campaigns.
I doubt they're listening.
You know, look, Fletcher got endorsed by Teamsters and and all those other people. They should endorse you, Joanne.
No, they didn't even talk to me.
Well,
so who's doing a good job, Joanne? Is the sheriff winning?
Mike, I think you got to give kudos to Laura.
Hold on,
Laura at least spoke up.
Laura Moss. Well, I've got to give kudos to the sheriff for standing his ground, but I like how Susan Adams has come up and pointed out this is wrong, man. She just does not hold back, and she reads statutes, she reads laws, even when they were talking about the attorney fees. You know, I mean, she just was on her game, and I was like, I'm really not a Susan Adams fan, but I'm like, you know what, girl, you know how to hold the line.
She was
when
holding
it's time
Fletcher
to hold
accountable.
She was, and I was like, thank you for doing that.
So I missed what did Laura do, Kevin? I missed her speech. Maybe I did.
She had to push back. Wasn't she the one who pushed back on the $12 million of the reserves? I thought it was Laura.
I thought that was
Laura did too. Laura suggested.
Yeah.
Laura was almost ready to take Joe Fletcher's thing, but she modified it because she believed, like Consalo, that we should leave the $6 million and then only do $6 million. And then there was discussion going about how they could get further deductions in their budget so they could give more money. She goes, maybe and then with their, of course, reducing the sheriff's budget and showing those cuts, we could get it maybe to where we only have to fund $3 million of the additional $6 million. So she was like trying to really, you're having these budget meetings, you're supposed to have in conference with the sheriff individually, and they're doing it from the dais, and it's like numbers are flying, nobody knows who's saying what. Joe Ehrman's up there is like, well, I'll fund $6 million, I'll fund $7 million. I'm not sure. Well, and then he goes, and then they asked him, he says, so what do you agree with? And he goes, well, I'll fund $6 million, I'll fund $7 million. They're like, you have to choose a number, Joe. And so he takes Tikanich's recommendation because that's the safe thing to do and fund 6.
It seems like
because don't know Joe,
right. It's like they're all fence sitting, they're all gaslighting till the next election. But
it's unserious conversation about a lot of money, and I think the sheriff's pretty frustrated. I prefer what he's doing right now. I think this lawsuit is about getting the process back in place. I think that's what he's thinking. If he's not, and he's just being vindictive, well, whatever. I don't think it's that.
I don't
But
think it's that
about
either.
I think it's about getting the process back in place, make these guys dot their I's and cross their T's on government process, because that process makes accountability a two-way street. No more saying, well, you can just fund whatever you want, and no more saying, well, just throw out numbers to fund wages, then come back next year and say, well, why did you pay the guys?
Right.
We're in the same boat as the commissioners are, because we don't know squat about the sheriff's budget either. So it's pretty hard for us to tell them what to do. It's hard for them because they're not doing their job. They should know. And the sheriff justified in saying, "Listen, I did my work. This is what I need." The fact that you are completely not involved is not my fault as sheriff. You should be able to quantify what you think I should be doing.
And the sheriff made some glaring observations. He said, "I'm asking for 0 new employees. You guys are getting 28 in your budget." And now they had to remove a couple. They had to remove, I think they removed like 4 to get to that $6.8 million number. They're going to fund a 10% increase to the Humane Society, and now they cut it down 2/3. But here we are. We learned that they're going to.
Who's got a friend in the Humane Society?
I don't know, but I hear they want to do an animal control facility out there on that property, and
they want to do lots of things.
19 people in a new bureaucracy.
Why do they want to do that when we have the Humane Society already?
Well, in the Humane Society, if you want to euthanize an animal, you have to go down to Martin County. They want to be able to do that here.
Homeland Security will come out and get their shotgun.
That's one of the things that I hear is going on.
Come on, Christy. Yeah. Anyways, this is a great show, and at first it was just we'll talk about the budget, but I mean, there's so much to talk about. My brother-in-law, I think the sheriff could make more money, and with my brother-in-law's idea, and he should host a invitational at the golf course on a monthly or bi-monthly process, and invite all these funders from the other side of the river, and he could probably raise more than $6 million throughout the year to do that. But like I said, I really want.
He doesn't have a grant writing person, I don't think.
Well, maybe he can
borrow
one,
and that guy got moved. That was a big issue in the 24 election.
Maybe he can borrow one from Team Success. Anyways, by the way, I want to shout out last week's show with Chandler Langevin and Jennifer Pippin, Joe Murphy. What a great show that was. I was glad it was you guys did a great job, Joanne, with Chandler, Palm Bay City Councilman, and it was nice to get his word out there. We've seen him on a few podcasts since, so yeah, it's good
nice
to see him.
Get cleared up what the rumor of him going around, he's a patriot.
And Joe Murphy was a great guest too. Hopefully we get Joe on some more. I know he's local to us here in the county. So if Joe, you're listening, we want to get you back on too. So Thomas, where can they get your Substack at?
Substack.com/Thomas Augustus or thomasaugustus.substack.com.
But if they Google you, that's better.
If they Google me, just do the Sunshine Journal and it'll pop right up.
That helps with those analytics and SEO.
Yes, it
and
does.
Recognition. So
just Google me. Don't go to Substack and find me. Just Google and click.
There you go. Yeah.
Or subscribe.
Anything but Facebook.
I subscribe.
It's the only time a conservative. Yep. There you go. You are right. Get the app and subscribe.
Yep.
Yes.
But I can tell you right now, to find it originally, it's the only time a conservative will come to the top of the search when you do the Sunshine Journal in Google.
And
I like the app.
And subscribe.
Yeah, I like the app because while I'm working or I'm driving, I can play the article. Yes. And I just want to know,
great app.
Do you pick the voice of who reads your articles?
Why do they suck?
This latest one isn't the best, but
I haven't picked anybody. Now I'm curious.
But it's
now
a great
you're gonna
app.
listen to it yourself, huh?
Maybe I'll go record myself, and then you'll have
I
to
said,
listen.
read it yourself. You know what it says.
Yeah.
It's
I
probably
anyways-
the app
remember what I
itself.
wrote half the time.
Yeah. John, you got anything for the audience or these guys before we wrap it up?
No, nothing too exciting. Just have a
Hi,
good
John.
weekend.
Thanks for participating.
Yeah, I think we're all a little
Thanks for just
I
being
miss you,
there,
man.
man.
we're all
Showing
kind of
your support.
recuperating from last night. We did the
Yeah.
conspiracy club last night. So
That was
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Your heads, you guys' heads are still spinning.
well,
Yeah,
I got home and went to sleep, and not even an hour later, we lost power out here in Fellsmere. Well,
oh,
my
geez.
neck of the woods in Fellsmere, and it didn't come back on until late this afternoon. So it was kind of like, so I'm dragging ass too. But
It rained like crazy last night.
Yeah, it
every day out here, it's nuts. I'm thinking instead of broadcasting, I should be building a boat. Because it's getting deep out here.
Broadcast from the boat?
And that's another thing. If you're listening, if you're one of our new subscribers or followers on Facebook and you're in the Fellsmere area, there's a lot going on out here, and we would love to entertain anybody who wants to come on and give us some more information. I'm going to reach out to Jed again, but I don't know if he's around or not. But there's plenty of people that have been reaching out to us about the possible annexation for Epic Estates, and then some other stuff. The flood control, the water district out here is a mess, which has to do with Fellsmere Farms, wants to change the way the votes are counted. So there's a lot going on out here in Fellsmere, and I don't think the rest of the county actually understands how detrimental it could be for everybody, especially when it comes to taxes and, $93 million budgets to fund.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
and with that being said, Joanne, you got anything else?
No, I was hoping we would have time to touch on Epic Estates, but I did speak at an event yesterday and got a lot of good feedback. I got in touch with the lady in Fellsmere that was also put something together to get that annexation stopped. So we've got people working on it. So I'm going to try to put something on Binford Chronicles, and then we'll try to bring it back to the board report so we can give people an update, because people were really interested in that. And even while at work today, I was getting phone calls about it yesterday.
Isn't it crazy how is it coincidental though? As soon as it came up from that county meeting, now it's a hotbed issue. Not just here, but in Palm Bay and Fellsmere and
Palm Bay, it's huge.
People are waking up.
Yeah.
Yep. I thought it was just us. Anyways, go ahead, Joanne. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, remember to connect with us every Friday at 7 p.m. The board report, where we bring local news to you and what's going on with our regular commentators, Kevin McDonald and Thomas Augustus. And you can find John at TGI Now when he's not on the board report, chilling out, and Mike, with To the Point podcast. And subscribe, get on board, share, like it, really helps support us.
Yep, hit that thumbs up.
Spread the news, share us. We're going to be talking about topics that are important and get everybody connected. Thank you for joining us again. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.